Hi class, today we're going to be looking at simplifying fractions which have a surd in them, particularly a surd in the denominator. So a really simple MLO today, we're going to simplify fractions which contain a surd. So have a look at this fraction here. It has a surd in the denominator, and we don't want a surd in the denominator. We want it, if anywhere, to be upper in the numerator, where it's easier to work with. And the way to move it from there is to multiply it by a fraction which has the surd in the numerator and the denominator. Now, as you can see here, we don't change the value of our fraction at all, because the square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2 is just 1. So we're multiplying our fraction by a 1. But what will happen if we multiply the square root of 2 by the square root of 2? We will get 2. So we've moved our surd out of the denominator. But you can see here 1 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 2. We've shifted our surd up into the numerator. Have a look at this example from the textbook as well. Similar example, we have 2 divided by the square root of 6, and they've used the same technique here. We've multiplied by a fraction which has the surd in the numerator and the denominator, which removes the surd from the denominator. The square root of 6 times the square root of 6 is just 6, and now we have the surd in the numerator. Pause the video and just take some time to inspect that example and make sure that every step in there makes sense to you. Alright, now it's your turn. Write each of these surds as a fraction without the surd in the denominator. Just pause the video here. And check your answers. Pause the video again. Alright, sometimes once you've moved the surd into the numerator, then there's further simplification you can do. So have a look at this example. We've got the square root of 8 divided by the square root of 5. And we've applied the normal technique here. We've multiplied by a fraction which has the surd in the numerator and the denominator, and we've moved the surd out of the denominator. We now have a rational denominator. But this gives us a square root of 40 on the numerator, which we can simplify further using techniques which we've been using for the last few lessons. And now we can see that we've written the surd in the simplest possible way. So pause the video here and just really carefully inspect this example and make sure you understand every step. And now try practicing this technique. Again, pause the video. And check your answers down here. So pause the video on those answers. Just make sure anyone that you didn't get the answer that you expected, that you just go through and do that again, making sure you understand why it's different. These examples are similar, but they will give you more practice with slightly more difficult problems. So pause the video. And pause again to check your answers. Alright, that's all for today. One really simple MLO. So at the end of this lesson, check that you can actually simplify fractions that contain a surd.